and welcome back to the channel. It's Saturday morning, I'm working on the Discovery, and next door we've got some people doing stuff with pallets. The chainsaw was last week, this week they're messing around with pallets. Anyway. Anyway, today we're going to do the big reveal of what turbo I'm using. Like I said, I'm 100% convinced nobody has used one of these turbos before on a 606. We're not reinventing the wheel, we're using a turbo on a 606. If you search online, I've searched online, and you can prove me wrong, then I'll gladly take that, prove me wrong. So the turbo I'm going to be using is this, which is a Zona rotor. We're not shooting for stupidly high power. I'm not going to tell you what power I'm going to go for. I'm going to leave that one for you guys to guess. It's not as crazy as you would think. It's just a solid number that I think is achievable with drivability. That's the key thing for me. Is we could chase way more power than we ever need, but the key thing that I want is drivability. I want to be able to use this car, and I want to be able to drive it as it should. If I've got a massive turbo with a ton of low end lag, that's something that I don't want basically. What I want is, I want drivability. I'm using the Turbo Smart wastegate. So the next thing to do will be get into welding the Turbo Smart wastegate in its correct location, fitting the manifolds, bolting the turbo in situ, starting working on the downpipe. So let's get into it. First things first, got the location of the wastegate. I'm going to cut this off here, weld the V-band, weld around here, stick it back together on the car, mount the turbo. Right, let's crack on. And that's the wastegate now in place. I've attached this to a little bit of a steel T3 flange for now, so I can fit the turbo to the car, get that in place. I don't have the adapter just yet, so I'll bolt it up, get the turbo in, start working on the downpipe, and we'll go from there. That's the turbo trowel fitted. The next thing to do is sort the oil drain. That's one job. The downpipe that's to do. So there's a downpipe to make that goes in there. I'm going to plumb the wastegate into the downpipe, and yeah, I think the positioning looks about right. I'd like the turbo to sit a little bit closer to the engine. I'm not too worried about the distance off. I am going to run a brace to support it, belt and braces. I think it's just worth doing for the extra little bit of time it takes. It just takes a bit of stress off the manifold as well. Another reason as well that I fitted it at a distance is because I have a oil breather sticking out the side of the motor. I'm happy with that. I think that looks cool. And this is what I'm using for my oil drain. So these are AN fittings. That's an AN12 that's on there. Really good because the pipe stays still when you tighten these ends up, so it doesn't require any spinning round. Quick release style fitting is what I would call it. Just undo that bolt and the hose just comes straight off. The other thing as well is if the hose splits or you have a problem, remove that from the hose, slide it down again, and then you can just put a new piece of hose in between. There's also push fits. There's no need for this on a push fit. You would just simply put a Jubilee clip round there as you push the hose on. You can get 90 degrees that are cast, so they're really tight. If you've got space restraints, banjo fittings, different sizes, AN8, depending on what you're using, depends on the size that you would go for. So on an oil drain, I'm using AN12. On the oil outlets from the engine to the oil cooler, I'm using AN10. And you can see, so here look, I've got a banjo fitting on the side of the gearbox. That's an AN8, so that's for my transmission oil cooler. You can see one on the other side. And the beauty of these are as well, they move round even when they're tightened up, so you can just stick them in any orientation, and look how close they fit as well. So they fit really snug. You can also buy these things that hold the hoses together as well. Just makes everything nice and neat in your engine bay. I'm just going to show you one thing that I do when cutting. I always use some masking tape, and then I'll cut it with a grinder, and then I'll blow the inside out with an airline. The reason being is it keeps all of the braid that's on the outside of the hose together. That way, when you cut through and push the ferrule onto the end, everything just nicely goes inside. They do sell tools to actually aid pushing these together, but I'm telling you, if you do it this way, you will never ever need to use one of them specialist tools. So it's just a waste of money, I think, because I've literally never used one. And that is one oil drain done, complete with a bit of heat protective cover on the outside. It's going between the two primaries, so the last thing we want is that burning. Good job, ready to fit it. Wonder, what's the only tea that we drink here, hey? Yorkshire tea. For Yorkshire people. Are you a Yorkshire tea dog? Oh yeah. Well, I hope you're enjoying the video. Last week we had a tech talk on a few things that I use to do the job that I'm doing. This week I just wanted to touch base on another couple of tools. The tools I want to touch base on are some cutting fixtures that are sold by a company called Gizfab, not sure. It's spelled with a G. I'm going to say it sounds like Jizz, but he says it's Giz. Anyway, Eden Young's the guy that owns the company. I'm not affiliated with him, but I use his cutting fixtures and I think they're fantastic. Fairly straightforward. This is a cutting fixture for straight tube. When you clamp it in the vise, it doesn't mark the titanium, stainless, aluminium, whatever it is you may be cutting. Absolutely perfect. The other thing as well is when you're doing pie cuts, you can rotate it 180 degrees. So then your following pie cut is perfectly cut the opposite of the other one. I also use this so I can get my alignment right, as I've shown you on the videos. I always like to try to keep the weld line in the same place. This makes the job so much easier. You'll have seen these being used on the manifold builds. This is another piece of kit that I buy from him. This is a Schedule 10 cutting fixture. This has 5-degree increment changes. All you simply do is fit your welding wire inside the hole at whatever increment that you want, and then stick it in your bandsaw, cut away. Yet again, another completely fantastic bit of kit. It also has 1D, 1.5D, dairy bend, stainless bend cutting fixtures for larger size tubes. Another couple of things that you'll see, we always want to keep really good coverage of gas on the titanium, stainless, be it whatever you're working with. These are Furic cups. If you've not heard of Furic, you must have been living under a rock. Absolutely fantastic bits of kit. There are other people who manufacture cups out there. I've never used them. The only ones I go to is Furic. Same again, these are sold by my local company who are Tech Products. And that's who I get all my welding supplies from. These are absolutely fantastic. The BBW is perfect for when you want to get into tight spaces, something like a turbo manifold where it's really tight and hard to get in. You can get some real good tungsten stick out on that. Right, now the oil drain's done, let's get back onto doing the downpipe. Right, so what we have here, this is the V-band flange that goes into the exhaust housing that was supplied with the turbo. This is in stainless and I wanted to put a titanium downpipe on. This is the titanium V-band that I've purchased online. Now he did tell me that he didn't have the right size, it was slightly bigger, so what I'm going to have to do, if you look at that edge, I'm going to machine that edge down so it's the same size as that, and then it will fit the turbo. So that's what this is to, so that's what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to stick that in the lathe. What I've got here is a titanium V-band fitting for the exhaust further down, and here I've got a stainless steel one. So I'm doing a titanium downpipe that is going to a stainless rest of the system, I'm going to call it. You can see there's a groove. Now this is your standard off the shelf banded flange. They're a lot better, male, female. So what I'm going to do is machine this face to fit inside this face, so I've then got a male-female fitment. And this here is the adapter that's been made. So this is T3 to teal adapter. Sunk the holes in. The reason for that is then I can make it nice and shallow. My V-band fitting doesn't hit the bolt heads. We've also got 1/8 BSP threaded fitting in there. That's for my EGT port. So that valuable bit of information that we need for tuning can be then stuck into there. So right, let's get on with a bit of lathe work. That is my test fit flange. I'm going to remove that now and bolt on the one that's been machined. So now I've done the machining of these V-band flanges for the exhaust housing. That's my stainless one that was supplied with the turbo. See there, lovely fit. Now the titanium one. See there, lovely fit. Here is the V-band for the lower half. So you can now see, I took a little bit off the outside of the titanium one because it was a lot bigger than the other V-band that's supplied. And now you can see I've got the male piece, the lip sticking out. So that now nicely just goes together on there. So my plan of attack is, you can see the downpipe down there. I'm gonna bring a titanium pipe out of here down to the downpipe down there. I might actually put it a little bit further than what you can see there, because I do have a flexi joint to put in as well. And the other thing is the wastegate outlet needs to go into the downpipe as well. I don't want to run a screamer pipe. I want to make it quiet and be discreet, so yeah. Adapter swapped over as well. You can see the 1/8 MPT port at the back for the EGT probe. The EGT probe is lingering around down here, so I'll take this wiring off. There's a fitting on the outside of that actually needs to come off. I'll take that off, and then that fits inside there and goes nicely all the way through. Yeah, so the thing I'm going to do next now is going to be band on there, have a measure up and start cutting some titanium to go in that gap for the downpipe. The first thing to do is figure out what angle I need to miss the bulkhead. A 90 is going to be too much of an angle, so what I do, I pretty much hold my angle finder on the top parallel, point it in the direction that I'm trying to go to, and then just measure the angle. So 70 degrees is a good starting point. So that means what I'm going to do is get my pie cuts, decide how many I want to go for, and set the angle to 70 degrees. And now I have my titanium downpipe tacked together, or the start of it done. What I am looking at is I need to put my wastegate exhaust pipe in so I can see how much clearance I've got along the side of the exhaust. What I might need to do is, instead of having this coming straight out, rotate it round to the left and then kick it back down and in, because my external wastegate housing, external wastegate exhaust is going to nip out down the side of this gap, and I just need to make sure that's going to clear. So I might just put a pipe in there currently so I can see where that's going to go, and then work back on the downpipe after I've got that in place so I can keep an eye on my clearance. I've now got my wastegate downpipe on. That's showing me my clearance, so I can see, as you can see, I've got lots of clearance that way, lots of clearance from left to right. What it does mean is I'm going to have a rotation in the downpipe. So what I'll do now is I'll add some more pie cuts and spin it round to get my orientation correct into the back of the turbo housing. So I'm happy with that. You can see 70 degrees there roughly, V-band starting to go on, and then I've now got my slight kink around the outlet of the wastegate. The next plan of attack is to start joining to the bottom half, but one of the key things that I want to achieve is having that line in the same orientation all the way around. I've had to spin the cuts round on the bandsaw to get that pie cut correct, but ultimately I think that's the right way to do it. It looks loads better, a bit more time consuming, a little bit of wastage, but yeah, I mean, that when it's on there, look at it, that's gonna look proper. So we'll get that bolted up. Time's getting on now, and the next thing to do really is get this car on the ramp. You can see how much leeway I've got with that pipe, loads. Get a good couple of fingers gap in the back there between the bulkhead, and same here as well. I mean, there's loads of room. So I'm happy with how that's come out. The next plan of attack really is get the car back on the ramp. We just painted the floor, so gonna get it back on the ramp, and then I'll look to start doing the underneath. Sit. Right, it's late, Saturday night. I'm going to have to call that one a wrap. I'd like to have got a little bit more done on the car, but that's about as far as I can go today. So next week's plan of attack, I'll get the downpipe finished, I'll get the external wastegate exhaust pipe finished and get that plumbed into the bottom half, get the car back on the ramp, because behind me we've got some wet paint, we need to wait for that to go off. What have we got coming up? Well, I've got a really good surprise for you. We've got a car that's come to us from Ireland, and I had one of these cars when I lived in Australia. It's really special, it's quite unique. You don't see things like this all that often in the UK. So I'm really looking forward to showing you guys that. I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek midweek. I'll do a small clip showing you that on the Facebook page and on Instagram, giving you a little bit of a reveal as to what we're going to be doing. If you like what I'm doing, hit the like button, let me know. We've got a lot more subscribers now. We've nearly doubled what we had. We're not going to break any records, that's for sure. But without the content, we won't grow. If there's anything you want me to cover in some more detail, let me know. I feel like I'm giving as much detail as I can. I feel like I'm giving a lot more detail than you probably need, but I hope it comes across good. The feedback that I'm getting is always positive. Lots of people saying to us that they're liking what we're doing, so that's why we're keeping doing it. There's nothing better than coming to work with your best mate or your best mates and just having fun. We're enjoying what we're doing and we're hoping to keep the content flowing. Thanks once again, that's the end of episode 1 on the Discovery. There's lots more to come, and me and Mr. Diesel will see you on the next one. What would Diesel? Hey. No to the hobnobs. This is a daily battle with you, isn't it? I can take my eyes off you for 2 minutes, and what happens? You come in here and you steal the hobnobs. Stop stealing the hobnobs, Diesel. Never mind this. Stop stealing the hobnobs.